Truth Espresso, episode 303.
In a world gone bonkers.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly, but fires have been started and...
Where the culture is a dumpster fire.
We're coming for your children.
And churches have lost their way.
I am really uncomfortable with the story of the crucifixion.
It's time to wake up. With Truth Espresso.
Truth Espresso.
Your weekly shot of truth. And now your host, Daniel Minnick.
Well, hey there, friends, family, foes, and lurkers alike. This is your host, Daniel Minnick, for another episode of Truth Espresso. And I must say, as one might expect, the topic of this episode was not one that I was planning to do. I mean, how could a podcaster like me plan this episode? This is a reactionary episode. In fact, as I record this on the Saturday evening of July 13th, I was in the process of gathering notes for the final episode of Manhattan Madness. I also had an episode scheduled for Monday that I had recorded earlier, but that episode's going to be moved forward a little bit because I figured it's probably important that I cover the big event that happened today as of this recording. So, Saturday, July 13th, at a rally in Pennsylvania, former President Trump and presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump, running for president in 2024, was giving a speech outdoors, and about a mere 6 minutes into his speech, the unexpected happened. And I will play a short clip. Now, you are going to hear something that's disturbing, and so if you don't want to hear it, you can fast forward your podcast player a bit, but I'm not going to play the whole thing, just what Trump was talking about when the unexpected moment began to happen.
And that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
So, of course, if you're just listening to this and you haven't watched the videos, I will provide a link to a video in the show notes showing what just happened live, and I will narrate as I watched the video over and over again. It's hard to do that. I don't like to watch violence happen. I don't like to watch real life. We're not talking about a movie here. We're talking about real life, and it's disturbing, even for me, to watch something that shows a live attempt at someone's life. But I figured to narrate what happened to the best of my ability, I had to watch the video and keep rewinding it, rewatching parts of it so that I could come out with a narration of what I saw happen. So, as Trump was talking after he mentioned the chart and stuff, then a shot was fired. And as that first shot was fired, you could see Trump jolt a little bit. And then soon a second shot was fired, and you see Trump grab his ear because the first one he could hear whiz by, but very quickly afterwards he heard the second shot and it actually nicked his ear, so he grabbed his ear. And then he started to duck down as the third shot fired and, chalk it up to the providence of God there, because obviously whoever was trying to shoot him wasn't just shooting a warning shot. He tried to hit him with the first shot, missed, was aiming a little closer, shot the second shot, and it barely nicked his ear. So then the third shot obviously was likely going to do more damage than that, and thankfully Trump knew to duck down, and then you could hear a third shot fired. So very much the providence of God saving his life in that very quick moment. And so as Trump was then down on the ground and Secret Service members piled around him, you could hear at least 3 other shots quickly fired afterwards. It sounded like one more shot, as I was watching the video, was fired about 9 seconds later, and then you hear a woman screamed, and that could indicate something that was reported later. Now, I am not sure if that was another shot from the attacker or if it was from return fire from law enforcement. Now, during the course of a minute from the beginning of the incident, you could hear some of the Secret Service members telling Trump, "When you're ready, on you, move and up." You hear someone say, "Shooters out, shooters out." And one of the Secret Service agents was a woman, so the woman Secret Service agent asked, "Shooters down?" And then the armed patroller, so a guy in armor and a rifle, was patrolling the front there, and then he responded, "Shooters down." A Secret Service member next to Trump asked Trump, "When you're ready." And so after almost exactly a minute after the first shot, Trump started to get up. And yes, that's a long minute. As I was watching the video, it seemed like a lot was going on, as I'm sure it felt like an eternity to Trump and all those who were involved at that time. As all that activity's going on, it's hard to believe as I'm watching the timestamps in the video, it's 1 minute. And so after almost exactly a minute, after the first shot, Trump started to get up. The Secret Service agents helped Trump stand up, and you could hear him say, "Let me get my shoes." So there's something important on Trump's mind. He wants to have his shoes so he could walk. One agent said, "Hold on to your head." And the agents were surrounding Trump and trying to cover him and make sure he was stable to start escorting him toward the escort vehicle, which was the Beast. Trump took the opportunity to stretch upward and face toward where the attacker might have been. He shook his fist up and then pushed it out while you can't hear it, but it looks like he's saying the word fight. So he seems to have said fight 3 times while shaking his fist. He was clearly and understandably angry. Trump is someone who he can be angry in kind of a poker face type of way, but he was definitely angry. He then held up his arm with his palm out as a form of salute to the crowd that he was okay and that he was soldiering on, while the agents continued to face him toward the vehicle and to escort him out. He then continued as he was walking with giving a wave to the audience and then more fist pumps. And then some in the crowd started chanting, "USA, USA." As Trump reached the passenger door to the vehicle, Trump held his fist up once again, and then the agents sat him down and closed the door. Now, as I observed, some news agencies, when they first reported what was going on live or shortly after live, they said that there were loud sounds and that Trump fell down. Now, I think it's obvious to anyone seeing the video, seeing what was happening, gunshots are very distinct. And that what was happening was not that Trump fell down, like he heard a loud sound and that made him lose his footing or something. He ducked down. He clearly ducked down because he first heard the buzzing sound of a round near his face, and then he felt one pierce part of his ear, making it bleed. And then he knew the next one would likely not miss. he ducked down to avoid danger. Now, I understand the need with the media and with legal issues to say things like alleged and all of that, and not to assume something drastic until they've confirmed things, but why should they try to push a certain narrative when things seem to be quite obvious from the start? There was no need to frame what happened as if something else had happened before there was enough evidence to force them to report what obviously happened. So the Secret Service later reported that, quote, the former president is safe and that he was, quote, being checked out at a local medical facility, unquote. Now, unfortunately, it was also reported later that a spectator at the rally, likely someone who was behind President Trump as he was speaking, a spectator was fatally wounded by one of the gunshots, and I suspect that's probably when you heard a woman scream right after a later shot was fired. Now, later, as live streams were going on, an eyewitness said that he saw a man holding a rifle and on a rooftop. So let's listen to this clip.
And listen to the rally, right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
So, of course, things like that could raise suspicions in our mind and wonder, was anyone involved in setting up the rally or involved in the security or in law enforcement part of allowing someone to be able to attempt assassinating former President Trump? I don't want to say anything definitively. All I'm saying is that when things like this happen, questions come up in your mind because you have security checking to make sure that people are unarmed as they attend the rallies. And so, was there some incompetence when it came to law enforcement? Or was someone just secretly aiding and abetting? Who knows? I don't want to make any accusations. All I'm saying is that when you have an eyewitness say things like that, the eyewitness could be fibbing. That's another possibility. But it just makes you wonder, do we have incompetence or do we have people in law enforcement who like to help out with activists? Well, Truthspresso friends, wokeness is everywhere. From kindergarten to elementary school to middle school to high school to higher education in most universities. It's all around us where we shop and where we work. It's even crept into many churches. Romans 12:2 says, "Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." So where can we go to get good, wholesome, encouraging, and in-depth materials to study the Bible and teach ourselves and our children how not to fall for the world's traps? Answers in Genesis is a Christian apologetics ministry that equips Christians to know and defend their faith effectively. Answers in Genesis teaches that the gospel of Jesus Christ depends on the firm foundation of the Bible, starting with the very first verse in the book of Genesis. The book of Genesis provides the groundwork for understanding the world around us and why we even need salvation. Understanding Genesis leads to understanding Jesus. Answers in Genesis offers something for everyone, from creation evidence to gospel training, from comprehensive curricula to witnessing tools to vacation Bible school, which my church used. From books to videos, Answers in Genesis has what you need and a whole lot more. Oh yeah, and Answers in Genesis even has a creation museum with animatronic exhibits that walks you through the whole Bible. You will know how understanding creation is key to everything else. They even have a life-sized Noah's Ark exhibit called the Ark Encounter. What animals did Noah bring on the Ark? How did he fit them all? Prepare to believe. Prepare to save too by going to truthspresso.com/answers and check out their specials on books, DVDs, merchandise, and more. That's truthspresso.com/answers. Now, I want to say if anyone else besides the one who fired the shots at Trump was behind this and helped plan this, I hope that everyone involved with this gets discovered if there is any nefarious plot that may still be in the works. I hope they all get found out and brought to justice. Now, as I record this on Saturday evening, by the time this airs on Monday, who knows, maybe that could have happened and I don't have it in the episode. Elon Musk, the billionaire owner of Tesla and the one who purchased X, formerly known as Twitter, said after the incident, quote, "I fully endorse President Trump and hope for his rapid recovery," unquote. So Elon seemed likely, as I've been following him on X and reading what he has to say, seems likely to have been heading in that direction, and he was probably refraining from making any kind of official endorsement for any candidate. But he seemed to realize how insane this current regime is, or at least activists who support the regime. You know, who knows who the shooter is? Who knows what we'll find out, if there's any connections there. I'm not going to presuppose anything. It could have just been some activist vigilante. But whatever the case, this incident seemed to solidify in Musk's mind the political battle going on, and it drove him enough to say that he endorses President Trump. Of course, as you would expect, reactions to this incident from people who despise Trump were inevitable. Social media can become the haven of people who like to let you know how they really think and would not really say that to someone's face in person. So I saw people on X saying things like, "Sad they missed, glad they tried," and quote, "My best friend who lives in Milwaukee just texted me and told me what happened, and my response was, sad they missed," with a little sad face emoticon, unquote. And then finally another one says, quote, "I'm not calling for someone to take him out. I'm just saying that I'm sad they missed," sad-faced emoticon, unquote. So you know that you're going to see things like that on social media, but it shows the depravity of people's hearts, especially people who don't have a moral compass, who don't understand absolute morality, who don't have a Christian worldview, to think that people's lives are expendable and the only morality is if your team wins and keeps your regime in power. Anyone on the other side, they're not even human. So, it's perfectly okay in the good old USA to descend into third world territory and have someone assassinate a candidate. Because if someone tried to assassinate President Biden, I would be angry that that happened. I would not be on X or anywhere else saying that I'm upset that someone missed. I would demand that harsh justice befall anyone who tries to take out President Biden. Just like how the Trump shooter was taken down, I would hope that a Biden shooter, if such should ever exist, would be taken down and that Biden himself would be safe. I would want perfect justice brought on anyone who attempts to assassinate any of the candidates, or anyone for that matter. I think the current president is horribly corrupt and morally should not be president for several reasons. But I agree with the Apostle Paul in Romans 13, verse 1, where he says, "The powers that be are ordained of God." I do not wish any harm on President Biden. If he should be held accountable for any wrongdoing he may have done, it should go through the legal channels of justice. It is wrong for some trigger-happy social justice warrior to try to assassinate someone. Now, I'm sure with all the Trump is literally Hitler propaganda that some think this was all an attempt to save America from an inevitable dictator. It's funny how grandmas waving American flags at the Capitol and didn't do anything wrong are the fascists. It's funny how pro-life people like Mark Hoke are the fascists when they're the ones who have the FBI terror raid their houses. And we have old grandmas thrown in jail for singing and praying at an abortion clinic because of the flagrant abuse of the Despicable Face Act. And the media, the institutions of higher learning, and many members of federal agencies, the fourth branch of government, seem to collude together on certain narratives. They all, with like mind, seem to proclaim and push certain narratives. Yet, we're to believe that Trump and those who support him are the fascists or pro-life people who put in their own time and money for the noble goal of saving lives and saving babies and trying to even help take care of mothers. They're somehow the fascists. But Planned Parenthood and those involved in the abortion business can mail pills and make millions of dollars and get millions of dollars in federal funding. They're the good people. In fact, not long before I was going to record this, my wife showed me an article from Life News about how the U.S. Army gave a slide presentation about how organizations like National Right to Life, Operation Rescue, and even those who have the Choose Life license plates on their vehicles are terrorist groups. Oh yeah, peaceful people who respect and save lives, and often do it on their own dime, are terrorists, while those who burn cities and loot stores are mostly peaceful protesters. So yes, our country seems to be headed toward third world territory, and we need to pray for God's guidance and protection. Pray for our leaders. I would like to read a few verses of Scripture that the incident that happened on Saturday, July 13th at the rally in Pennsylvania, the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump, former president running to be president again. I would like to read some verses. Proverbs 12 verses 5 through 7 says, "The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand." And then also Proverbs 28, verses 16 through 18 says, "The prince that wanteth or lacketh understanding is also a great oppressor. But he that hateth covetousness shall prolong his days. A man that doeth violence to the blood of any person shall flee to the pit." In other words, that's poetry for being killed. "Let no man stay him," or let no man allow him. Whoso walketh uprightly shall be saved, but he that is perverse in his ways shall fall at once. And I thank God that the shooter was taken out swiftly. He did not accomplish his real goal, but he is paying dearly for it. He will face the righteous judgment of God Almighty. So pray for this country. Pray for God to protect President Trump as he continues to campaign and keep him safe. And pray for President Biden that God will show mercy and grace to him and keep him healthy. I really do pray that Biden was not involved in any of this. So pray for the current president, as you always should do, and pray that God does give him grace and mercy. Regardless how you feel about our current president, he needs our prayers. Pray for his health and his cognitive functions. Pray that God will protect him. Pray for a revival in our nation, that people will wake up, that the United States does not fall and become a petty third world country. Pray that God sends revival. And I don't mean a revival merely for conservative ink. I mean a true revival, a Christian revival, a revival of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and a revival of the truth of God and the morality that comes from the Word of God and the gospel of Jesus Christ. Pray, pray, pray. Keep on praying. Pray every day. And God bless.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Truthspresso. Be sure to subscribe and rate it on your favorite podcast app. Truthspresso is a member of the Christian podcast community. Check out other great faith-building shows at christianpodcastcommunity.org.
Well, Truthspresso friends, wokeness is everywhere. From kindergarten to elementary school to middle school to high school to higher education in most universities. It's all around us where we shop and where we work. It's even crept into many churches. Romans 12:2 says, "Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." So where can we go to get good, wholesome, encouraging, and in-depth materials to study the Bible and teach ourselves and our children how not to fall for the world's traps? Answers in Genesis is a Christian apologetics ministry that equips Christians to know and defend their faith effectively. Answers in Genesis teaches that the gospel of Jesus Christ depends on the firm foundation of the Bible, starting with the very first verse in the book of Genesis. The book of Genesis provides the groundwork for understanding the world around us and why we even need salvation. Understanding Genesis leads to understanding Jesus. Answers in Genesis offers something for everyone, from creation evidence to gospel training, from comprehensive curricula to witnessing tools to vacation Bible school, which my church used. From books to videos, Answers in Genesis has what you need and a whole lot more. Oh yeah, and Answers in Genesis even has a creation museum with animatronic exhibits that walks you through the whole Bible. You will know how understanding creation is key to everything else. They even have a life-sized Noah's Ark exhibit called the Ark Encounter. What animals did Noah bring on the Ark? How did he fit them all? Prepare to believe. Prepare to save too by going to truthspresso.com/answers and check out their specials on books, DVDs, merchandise, and more. That's truthspresso.com/answers.